Hey, my name is Levi, welcome back to my channel, and today we are taking a look at the Boss DS-1 and the Boss Super Overdrive. These two pedals are really common, really easy to find, and they're pretty iconic. I think that they're both really useful tools for the modern guitarist, and I wanted to show you today kind of how each of them sound and how I would use each of these in unique musical situations. The Boss SD-1 is a compact overdrive pedal that was released in 1981. It's a mid-gain overdrive pedal featuring asymmetrical clipping, and it was meant to replicate the distortion sound of an overdriven tube amp, but give you that at a reasonable volume. Over the last 40 years, this pedal has been used by players like Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, Zakk Wylde, John Five, Mark Knopfler, and countless others, and it's still very popular amongst players today. It's a really affordable pedal, and I found mine for $40 on the used market. The Boss DS-1 was released in 1978, and it was one of the first distortion pedals that moved away from the fuzzy sound from the early 70s. This circuit has two gain stages, which gives you a hard clipping sound and plenty of distortion on tap. This pedal offers more distortion than the Super Overdrive and can produce a wide array of sounds from low gain to high gain tones and everywhere in between. This pedal is known to have been used by John Frusciante, Kurt Cobain, Gary Moore, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and a ton more. This pedal is great for blues, classic rock, grunge, punk rock, and pretty much any genre that requires a distorted guitar except for metal. If you're a metal player, you're probably going to want something a little bit more tailored to that style. This pedal is also very affordable, and again, I was lucky enough to find it on the used market for $40. One thing to know about pedals is that they will sound different on different amps and with different guitars. It's basically one piece of the equation of everything that makes your guitar sound, right? So basically, this video should give you an idea of what these pedals sound like through your standard OR15 and V30 combination. We've got our clean tone. First, we are going to take a look at the overdrive. Alright, and let's take a look at that distortion pedal. But basically, the SD-1, that was designed with a bit of a mid boost. They call it a mid hump, and essentially that boosts the mid range. Now, this guitar's got plenty of mid range, so that basically just pushes it into this kind of classic electric guitar solo kind of thing. Of course, you can try it with neck pickup and stuff. The distortion pedal is a lot more kind of this like mid scoop kind of sound, and then this one is just more mid boost kind of sound, right? And that makes a world of difference in the shape of the overall sound. Now, in my opinion, that makes the distortion pedal really good for rhythm guitar, and that makes the Super Overdrive really good for lead guitar. Now, doesn't mean you have to use them that way, but that's probably how I would do it, you know? If I'm playing more rhythm stuff, I'll probably use more this type of sound. Alright, and then just like play basically the same thing with an overdrive. Right? They just kind of have different kind of mojo to them. They're just totally different types of sounds, right? So it really depends on the type of player you are, the type of music that you're trying to make. Let's dive into some of the different kind of sounds of each pedal, right? So taking a look more so at the overdrive, basically one of the most common ways to use the overdrive pedal is to boost the volume and not use much, if at all, any drive, right? So let's turn all the drive down all the way. Let's move all the level up, right? So now it's acting like a boost. Might call it clean boost. There's still a little bit of dirt. Basically, without the pedal, then with. Right. So it doesn't have a whole lot more distortion, but it does boost that level quite a bit. The good thing with that boost is that you can actually pair it. Like, you can basically use both of these in conjunction, which is kind of a fun thing to try to do. Alright. Woo! That was not fun. Okay, so I'm going to turn this down to a more reasonable distortion level. Alright, something like that. Okay, and now, let's try that. This is kind of a fun thing, stacking the overdrive and the distortion together. Versus. Right? You can get even more saturation out of it when you do both. Back to the overdrive. It's brutal. Yeah. So what if we start turning up the drive here? What does it sound like? With the tone all the way down. Bit darker, right? Then tone all the way up. I'm nervous about this sound. Now that's a lot harder on the ears. I think there's a good balance somewhere in the middle where you get enough of that brightness without getting too shrill. That's got some nice sizzle to it. And then more on the darker side of it. Actually, I quite like that sound. It's still kind of balanced, but it's kind of on the more mellow side of it. Sounds very lo-fi. Let's take a look at taking the level down a little bit, right? So I'm gonna keep the drive around 12 o'clock. But I'm gonna bring the level back to 12 o'clock so we're not boosting it so much. You can actually use this as a mute pedal if you just turn the level all the way down. Huh. I like the level turned up, though. It's good that way. Let's turn up that drive, see how hot it gets. All the way up. So that drive control, it does make a difference, but it's a lot more subtle. Take a look back at this distortion pedal. I think this distortion pedal has a lot more kind of extremes to it. There's a lot more kind of range when you get into the different tone and the different distortion levels, right? So basically, let's just play with a different distortion for now. That's about 12 o'clock, hit halfway through. Let's turn it down to like 9 o'clock. I actually really dig that kind of lighter distortion. Yeah, it sounds good. Let's turn the distortion all the way down. That actually sounds a little bit more like an overdrive because it's got less distortion on it. Huh. A little bit more. Then a little bit more. All the way up. Ooh, that hurts the ears, man. It's a lot of range on that distortion. You can go from kind of really tame to really wild. And when you go into those higher distortion ranges, it almost sounds like you're putting a sweater on the tone. It just feels kind of like woolly or fuzzy all around. Let's mess around with the tone a little bit. So we're still in kind of high gain territory. But let's play with the tone. So let's turn it all the way down again. So basically what this tone knob is doing is it has that mid scoop. It kind of shifts that mid scoop kind of where it is. And it also basically accentuates either more bass frequencies or more treble frequencies. Now, in my opinion, when you go on the brighter side of the tone knob, it gets really shrill. Like, it's really easy to go way too far with that tone knob just by pushing it a little bit, right? So let's mess around with it. Onto the brighter side. Already, I think it's lacking a bit of bass, at least in the room. Let's go a little bit higher. Now, in the room, I'm not digging how it sounds there. It's a little bit too bright, but we're gonna keep going even more. Interesting, very trebly kind of sound. A little bit more. No, yeah, it's like no bass at all. All the way up. Ooh. I don't like how that sounds very much. I think a lot of times where these Boss pedals get a bad rap is that they offer such a wide range of EQ control, and it's so easy to go too far one way or the other, and then you get too much treble, not enough bass, for example, and then you get people thinking, oh man, this pedal sucks because it sounds like bees. Well, if you spend some time with that tone control, you could probably find a tone that you like if you're patient enough with it, right? So I personally like my tone knob on this thing a little bit down like that. So it's like, it's 11 o'clock or so, maybe 10:30 o'clock. So that way you get enough bass without it being too dark, but you get a little bit of that sparkle brightness without it being too shrill. I dig that sound. I think it's totally workable. I really like that lighter distortion sound too. Well, that's all the guitar playing that we've got in this video. So what did we learn? Basically, the hard clipping sound of the DS-1 and the soft clipping sound of the SD-1 are two totally different sounds. You basically use them for different things, and you can't really replace one with another because the shape of the sound is completely different. So which one did you prefer? Are you more of a fan of the DS-1 distorted sound or the overdrive? I'm definitely interested to hear your feedback and your preferences below. And thank you so much for watching this video. I'll get you to hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel so you can see my future content. And until then, I'll catch you all next time.